everyone, welcome back to Blooms and Bicycles. I'm Ashley and I hope you're having a lovely summer so far. This month's collection takes inspiration from William Shakespeare's play A Midsummer Night's Dream, with a storyline centred around fairies, woodland magic and the fading moonlight of a waning crescent amidst the starry backdrop of a midnight and twilight coloured sky. We're so excited to bring to you varieties of flowers that offer an eclectic mix of magical colours, forest-like textures, all of which are accented by sprigs of greenery we can always find well at home during a walk in the local woods. We can't wait today to share with you how to construct the Midsummer Night's Dream large letterbox flowers. All our stems are prepared and our vases with the water and the feed. However, you can always refer to our flower care video on our channel if you'd like to understand how to go about this. So to start with, we'll take the strongest stems in order to form the grid. The grid provides the structure for the longer, softer stems that we'll start to introduce later on. Next, we'll take our pieces of greenery, being asparagus fern, leather leaf, and viburnum blackberries. I'll move this over so you can see it more. But we're starting to create a triangle formation. So in addition to the viburnum blackberries on this side, we have the cherry blossom branch, and we'll also introduce the leather leaf. Just so relatively speaking, there is a proportionate amount on each side. And now we'll add in our asparagus fern to the centre of our grid. So it will create lots of little pockets of space for the other stems to go into. Now we'll take our Lilac Gypsophila, like little orbs of fairies that you'll hear about in woodland tales. We're making sure that these pieces of Gypsophila, which have been cut away from the main stem, sit relatively low to the opening of the vase. Again, because at this point, it's all about building out the structure. So next we'll take our candle-shaped flowers. In this case they are the Astilbe in pink and maroon, and this beautiful shade of purple in Leotris. The Leotris is the tallest, so we'll add this into the centre by weaving it through the asparagus fern. And that just about holds position. And then we'll add our Astilbe on mirroring sides. Again, because it's all about creating a natural balance. Then we'll take our Alliums. This is a beautiful variety and very unusual in its shape. They almost look like spears, and if you get close up, they're very pearlescent in the finish. So working to the magic of 3, as we always do, we'll create a triangle formation with our Alliums. These are all trimmed roughly to different heights. You don't have to think too much about which height they're cut to, but just having a slight variety allows the eye to move throughout the design because there's so many different points of interest going on eventually. Now we'll take our roses. Naturally, the lilac garden rose is a shorter stem than the white one. We'll therefore position the lilac one towards the front and position the white one towards the back. So next we'll take our dahlias in 2 very contrasting varieties. This light pink colour reminds me of the moon, which you hear referenced in Midsummer Night's Dream, and then a very contrasting claret red coloured one. Positioning the moon into the middle of the sky, we'll make sure our light pink variety takes centre stage. And making use of the naturally long stem the claret red one comes with, we'll position this towards the back again to create that balance. So next we'll take our lilac coloured flowers, which in this design are Scabiosa and Clematis. The Scabiosa is a very naturally long and thin stem. This would be perfect positioned towards the very back of the design. So again, we just thread this through, taking full advantage of the smaller spaces the grid has made. And the asparagus fern leaves, which are very soft and flexible, are now actually holding upright in the perfect position, the flower stem exactly where we want it, and that's the beauty of creating the grid. So with our Clematis, this is very top heavy and very flexible, and there is a lot of movement in this. So cutting it down, So relatively to the vase, it's actually quite short. We'll then introduce it very gently and slowly into a position where there is a void. In a very similar way to the Clematis, the Sanguiso also has a lot of movement in it. Again, just because of the amount of offshoots and the weight of the flower in comparison to the length and thinness of the stem. So starting to position these towards the end of the design as we're doing is always best. So we'll just trim this down again. So relatively speaking, in comparison to the height of the vase, it's not too long. Flower stems will move around as you introduce new ones, that's to be expected. Leave them where they are and listen to the flower. Listen to where it's telling you it wants to be, or you can change it back again. I guess it just depends how much time you have in your day. We've actually trimmed this Sanguiso into 2 stems, so we'll now position this somewhere off to the other side. Again, because it's all about creating a natural balance. And again, because the Liatris is very top heavy, I actually think allowing this to sit on the very outside of the display, on the very rim of the vase, is perfect and really shows how beautifully sweeping these unique flowers are, and really allows them to catch the light and make a statement in their own right. Now we'll take our carnation. I absolutely love this carnation because from the underneath it goes almost from like a coffee auburn colour, like a very autumnal tone, into a very light violet in the centre, and its tips go from white into a very intense colour of every unique petal. So again, we're just going to move the asparagus fern around the scabiosa to hold it into the position that we want it to be. Now finally, we'll take our midnight and twilight blue flower varieties, this being the Eustoma and this tulip. This tulip has a very natural curve to it. It's just how the flower is. So again, we work to the advantage of all the flowers for what they have to offer, and we'll put this towards the very front of the design, allowing it to tumble over the front of the vase. Just adding to the effect and the aesthetic of this wild woodland style we're trying to achieve. So next we'll take our Eustoma. The Eustoma can be split off into different stems if you like, or you can just leave it as it is. In this case, we'll be leaving it as it is and using it as the ultimate centerpiece. And last but not least, we'll take our ivy and put it next to the leather leaf. So like in the woodlands, when you go for a walk and you see those swathes of bracken and ivy that seem to thrive where there are openings allowing for sunlight to come through, we'll just make sure they also have their own place to shine. So now we'll just take one final look. We'll just slightly twirl this scabiosa now that we're around the front. This tulip leaf has just wrapped around itself. You can always take the leaves off the tulip if you like. Personally, I just like how wild this is, especially because it's naturally curled in on itself. And there you have it, the Midsummer Night's Dream large letterbox flowers. I hope you enjoy.